And coming up on these episodes of the MartyMariner Show, yes, you heard me correctly. It wasn't a mistake. We couldn't fit everything into one episode. Otherwise, you'd be sitting here watching it for hours. So we've divided it into two. It is the second leg after all of the semi-final this Saturday night at Industry Group Stadium between the mighty Central Coast Mariners and Sydney FC. So why not have two episodes getting into it as we can? Well, our first episode, I got a few of the lads together to have a bit of a chat, bit of a chinwag, and a bit of a conversation about this season so far, this magical year for the Central Coast Mariners. Touch on the women's team as well, the success they've had, Em Husband and the staff and all the players have just been outstanding. So we'll have a bit of a look at that as well. How our men's team have gone. I mean, really, AFC Cup, coming first in the comp and club champions, and we're still going. It's just an absolutely great time to be alive, to be a Central Coast Mariners fan. And I've got three of the best to get together and have a bit of a chat with me. Erin Morrow, who's probably still suffering a little bit of jet lag after recently arriving back from Muscat in Oman. What a trip that must have been. He tells us all about what it was like in the stadium, and as a long-term fan, probably one of our best-known supporters of the club, to hear the joy and the passion that he felt by being there. Can't wait to talk to Erin. It's absolutely remarkable that he got to go. It's really good story to hear. Dan McCamley from CoastFM 963 joins us. He'll be the sideline eye on Saturday, trying to be heard over those 20,059 supporters. Can't wait to talk to Dan. And speaking of Dan, yes, we're double danning it. It's Dan the man, the stalwart, if you like, of the staff there at the Central Coast Mariners. Everybody knows Dan. And to get him on, he's going to be talking about the ticketing situation currently and what there is left of it, of course. Some of his fondest memories of the Central Coast Mariners. What was his first memory? That'll be interesting to find out. And also, I asked all three of them what they think their prediction will be for this weekend, and be very interesting to see what they say. Better not keep these boys waiting. This is only just episode 1, so make sure you stay tuned for episode 2 as well. We'll bring that to you very, very shortly. Let's go with this first episode. MartyMariner Show. Welcome back to the MartyMariner Show. And what would it be having a finals week without having a panel? And Mark Jackson's not the only one who can bring a bit of a lineup together. We're playing the double Dan Erin formation. So let's introduce the lads to you. First of all, Dan McCamley from Coast 963 FM. How are you doing, my friend?
Going well, mate. It's an exciting time of the year, especially after last year. You thought maybe that was just some sort of fairy tale run, but for the team to be able to repeat it again and to be in the same position again this year, it's really exciting times, mate.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. And bring it on every year. I think just become used to this. This is just fantastic, right? And of course, because we've got two Dans on the panel, mate, and you being an Arsenal guy, I'm going to have to call you Dan Postacoglu tonight. Is that okay by you?
Mate, if I had a Spurs jersey, I'd be wearing it. And as much as it pains me to say that, we're all Spurs supporters tomorrow morning. So fingers crossed, Big Ant can get the job done for the Gunners.
Mate, I'm telling you now, from what I've read, there's more Arsenal fans going for Tottenham tomorrow than there are Tottenham fans going for Tottenham tomorrow, because we're all going for Man City, apparently. So crazy times. Crazy times.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Speaking of Dan's, let's go to one who is an absolute legend of this club, stalwart, if I may. Dan the man. How are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, good, mate. Really pumped for this weekend. And, it's great to be here again, Marty. So thanks so much for having me, mate.
Pleasure is all mine, mate. And I'm presuming just a little bit busy around the ticket sales this week?
Absolutely. The membership and ticketing team are absolutely flat stick, answering every question under the sun, no doubt. And corporate teams smashing it with all the hospo and all the offers for happening at the ground. So we're just hoping to replicate last season, sell out again of 20,059 in Gosford. Game on.
Absolutely. Bring that on, I always say. And speaking of, we were talking about legends before. I mean, is there a bigger legend in the stands than this fella? Freshly back from Muscat in Oman. Yeah, I'm talking to you, Mr. Erin Morrow. How are you doing, my mate?
Well, maybe a little bit of sleep deprivation, but this moment for the coast is something special. So I'm just hanging on for the ride, going to ride this beast to the finish, and geez, it's a good thing at the moment.
We're nearly there, my friend, until pre-season starts all over again, and we'll do it all again. But anyway, it's great to see you here, mate, and we'll talk a little bit more about the AFC Cup very, very shortly. Fellas, normally when the players come on, I ask them what their first footballing memory is, but I just want to change it up a little bit today. And Mr. Postacoglu, I'm going to start with you. What's your first Central Coast Mariners memory?
I remember getting together with a bunch of mates to watch the first game, but my real first memory is the devastation of that grand final against Sydney in a game where I don't know if I remember it correctly, and I'm pretty sure I do because I've seen highlights since, but the Mariners played Sydney off the park in that first half and just couldn't find the back of the net. And then, all night Dwight popped up on the right-hand side, laid it off to Steve Corica, and the rest is history. But that real disappointment that was what sticks with me from those very early days, because they had such a great season in that first season. Much like I think the females this year just punched above their weight. Nobody gave them a chance, and then to make it as far as they did and really give the competition a shake. That's my first memory of the Mariners.
Absolutely. Bloody Sydney FC stuffing them up in that competition too. We owe them one this weekend. Good thinking.
Yes, correct.
Erin, I remember, first year standing in Bay 16, there were boxes of celery getting passed around. God knows what that was about. What's your first memory of that first season?
Actually, it's a great question, because it's about, I guess, the things that that stand out. So for me, the night that Nick Merger made the tackle on Andy Durante was one of the very first things I recall, and never forget it, because it means something about, the rivalry that continues. And sometimes I think in recent years we forget that there is a reason for that rivalry, and we are the original and the best derby. So yeah, that's a real standout for me, just because it sort of started my football journey, as opposed to all the other codes that had tried to be sold to us up here on the coast.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's very, very memorable. And what about yourself, Dan? What was your first memory of this little yellow and blue club?
So I was very honoured for interning before I became an employee. So I was invited down in the 10-year anniversary when Mariners were playing the Jets, and Dookie scored for us to make it 1-0 in that game. It was just electrifying. This is what I wanted to do, and I just couldn't change careers quick enough to get into this football industry and enjoy every moment with all the fans. And I just got the buzz and the hook straight away. So yeah, I've got to remember the year 10 anniversary, and it was just magic, mate.
Really, and certainly been plenty of memories on the way. But it's certainly great when you sort of talk to a number of people now about when they came into the club. Just there were some obviously they're right at the very start, but even those who've been there the last few years, the memories that they talk about, it's just great to see. And young people now who are just talking about their heroes, and always love talking to Central Coast Mariners to them. Dan, we commentary for the women's team this year. Did a great job with CoastFM, and mainly Pat helping you out in the box there. Let's just briefly just touch on the women's season. We spoke just prior to that last game against Sydney. It's a massive effort by M. Husband and the crew to achieve what they have this year, isn't it? We can't underestimate the result.
Nah, huge effort from the girls and Emily Husband. And look, unfortunately for them, I think we spoke about it, Marty, about missed opportunities, and they create chances and didn't take them throughout the season. And you look back to that first leg at home at Central Coast Stadium, they went down 1-0, and geez, they had some chances in that game to not only draw level, but probably take an advantage down to Sydney. And in the end, that came back to bite them. But an outstanding season, and really took the eventual champions, to the limit down there at Leichhardt Oval. They got that equalising goal just before half time, and you thought maybe they might push on and find a second. Unfortunately, they didn't. But onwards and upwards for the girls' side, and a great first season, and some real solid foundations to build off for years to come.
Absolutely. And you've only got to talk to a few of them real quickly to find out how hungry they are to get back and finish the job off next season, which will be great to see. Erin, just from I can't think of a better fan to ask this question to, but having the women's team back in the club, what does that mean to you as a whole? Because we've followed the men. I know we had a women's team very, very long ago, but now bringing the women in as well. What have you seen as part of the club that's changed for you?
I would say that having the women back just registers us as being the equal of everybody else again. We have our own team. We have our own way, if you like. And actually on the women's performances this year, I thought that the way that they performed was how we expect the Mariners to perform. They had a workmanlike way of going about business, a really good work ethic on the pitch, well coached, well organised. Yeah, they got a little bit unlucky with some of their finishing, that's true. But yeah, fantastic first up season. So for me, it's just about having that same setup that we can share with the girls. And it's a bit close to my heart because 2 daughters and 2 granddaughters, and none have worn the yellow shirt yet, and 2 have passed their prime for the yellow shirt. But there's still 2 chances, and I want that. That's the big thing for me, is for young Coast girls to aspire to being able to put the yellow shirt on. So yeah, that's the big thing about it, that the Central Coast gets the same opportunities as everybody else.
Absolutely. And of course, now having that women's team hangs us in good stead for a club championship. Oh, that's right. We won that one too. Anyway, moving on. Dan, from a club point of view, having that, the men's team been the focus all the way through, I guess, one team. But what dynamic does it add with the women now in the club as well?
Oh, absolutely. There were all discussions about having separate pages and promoting the girls and the boys, but we're one team. So it doesn't matter if we field a men's team or a women's team. We're the Mariners at the end of the day, and we want to prove to the whole of Australia that we can be successful in men's and women's. I know it was a long behind the scenes effort, especially from Sean, Carly Carmichael, Sharon Baxter, Gabby Bowles, to get the women's team up and running through the early days, and we did petitions and workshops and everything to try and get the team back up and running, and to have it here this year to celebrate our 20th year next year, having a male and female competition. It was just unbelievable. They played out their skin all season. As Emily said, it would just been great to get into the top 6, but seriously, we couldn't expect a better result with them going all the way through to the semi-finals, and unfortunately just getting done at the last hurdle, unfortunately. But they outplayed teams that thought they were write-offs. So a credit goes to Emily and the coaching staff and the players themselves, because when they wear that badge on the pitch, they represented everything that the club stood for as well. So it was an amazing achievement by all.
Absolutely. And I do see that Jacko and Em, a lot of their Instagram posts, there's always a hashtag the Mariners way. And I think that they're very much on the page. I know they do sort of catch up and talk football a lot, which is too, right? Which is fantastic for the club.
Oh, absolutely. And a testament to both of them as well, to Mark and Emily. They've been coming to each other's games to watch and support. So to have that camaraderie, to have that bond between both teams as head coaches, that just amplifies what the team is doing in the back end, supporting each other, believing, and just being just Mariners. That's it. It's unbelievable.
Exactly. No, the Mariners way is definitely a thing, and definitely follows on from the belief that we've been running with as well, because I think that's still pumping strong as well. Dan, I know just switching back to the men, a lot of the games on the sideline this year, and people have sort of been talking to me about what happened from the first 4 games of the year to where we are right now. And let's face it, it's just been continually upwards from then. you get to chat to a lot of the players after the game. You sort of hearing what's going on. Was there a pivotal moment this year where you thought, yeah, this has changed?
No, I don't think so, because whenever I spoke to them after those early losses, it was no, nothing has changed. The process is still the process. We're still doing all of our things that we were doing last year. We haven't slackened off or anything like that. It was all still very much upbeat and positive. So I don't think there was a pivotal turning point. I think obviously the first win in the league was a big breakthrough, but I also think the AFC Cup run was a big help. Whilst they weren't getting results in the league, they were getting results in that AFC Cup tournament early on. And I think that, if they weren't getting results there as well, then I think they might have been in a little bit of trouble. But you could see that they were still very much playing well. They just weren't getting results in the league. They were getting caught out in transition an awful lot. That was one thing that the players did touch on early on in the season, and something that they were working on in training. And I think after about that round 4 or 5 mark, that they'd sort of formulated a bit of a plan to stifle that. But yeah, that their belief was still there, their processes were still very much there, and once they got that first win in the league, they sort of haven't looked back from there.
Absolutely. And Erin, we know what ultimately happened, obviously, with the AFC Cup, but was it a blessing in disguise to be in that tournament, to play against teams of a certain quality that gave us opportunity to build and gain a bit of confidence?
I think so, and we did that. We really capitalised on it. We had people on the score sheet that we might not have expected would be on the score sheet at times. We were able to sort of play our way into having some form. Like Dan, I never really felt like we had to turn something around. We didn't get the results that we expected at the start, but I felt myself that there was enough on show there to feel that we would get through that. I think it would have got harder if it went longer, but it didn't. And I do think that the AFC Cup run, especially with some of the opposition who were, let's be fair, park football quality at times, that doesn't diminish the task of going places that are on the other side of the world and having to come up with results. So, and as the tournament went on, of course, the opposition got better as well. But certainly early on there, we managed to get Ryan Edmondson some form. We managed to see Tulio off and still get an award that he wasn't present to receive. So we certainly, that also, I think, provided a bit of a fitness platform. I don't know how these magicians have achieved this, but somehow we look like a team that people were expecting to fall over late in games, but it never really happened. And I don't think it ever really is going to happen. So I have to think that those extra games, the constant football for the players has been that part of the reason why that they've had that success. So yeah, I played a lot of games, but I was almost looking at this week and thinking to myself, are we going to be rusty next week after we have had the midweek off? Because it's not who we are to have the midweek off.
Exactly. All this time off.
So yeah, 100% the AFC Cup was helpful for us and very gratifying, the ending as well.
No, whatever Bryce is on in his role, can we just double it and keep him forever? Because the man's an absolute genius and magician.
And a top guy.
He's not a bad guy too. Yeah, we'll give him that. He'll probably be listening. Good fellow as well. But to keep these guys, and to be able, and let's be honest too, we make changes, but the core of that team, Izzy hasn't come off yet. The core of that team has played game after game, and yet they've finished games stronger than they've started. It's just been an amazing effort by the backroom staff, led by Bryce. And then someone was talking to me about the travel the other day, and I heard on something about we've gone around the world 3 or 4 times and stuff like that, and that should have how they still standing. Do you think that's been an advantage, that time away together, as much as it's in hotels, on planes, and just to get away from things? Do you see that as being a real big part of why we are where we are now?
I think that culture started from Alan Stajic leading into Monty, and then Mark's just held on to that rein and literally just kept that belief and that bonding of that team morale. Like Nizzy said it perfectly at the weekend, and I think he was hesitation as well of exploring how much he was to reveal about the card game. But the boys have just worked for each other behind the scenes, left, right, and centre. Like they're travelling every 3 days to another game or flying out overseas. So that bond had to be tight. That the resilience as well for each of them. Like there have been some horrendous early morning starts for them to catch the bus and get airplanes, and Dubai screwing them over to fly home ready for the double header. Like just unbelievable what they've achieved. But like that culture has just been harnessed over this years, and Mark's taken it to another level. But also the leadership group within the team, Danny Vuka, Storm Rue, those boys have just held it together. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. And hashtag werewolf for anyone watching and playing along at home. Dan, I'll come to you first. Let's talk the AFC final. I had no problems in staying up to watch it. I was just I was buzzing. It was just, but to me, it seemed surreal because I don't know whether it's the past lot of years and, excluding last year, I know what we did, but it just still seems surreal to me that there's our team that plays out of Gosford with palm trees and sauce bottles and, a Viking mascot out there in an Asian Cup final, and we've won and we're holding up a trophy. I did have to pinch myself a few times. How was it for you? Because to me, it just seemed a little bit surreal.
Yeah, unfortunately, Trent and Luke went over with the radio station, so that was an awesome experience for them. And I didn't have any spare cash lying around, so I was unable to make the trip. But props to Trent and Luke for getting over there. Props to the fans as well for traveling a huge trip. I looked at flights. You're looking at, one stoppers were pretty expensive. Two stoppers, you were looking at up to 28, 30-hour trips for the cheaper ones. So anybody that made the effort to get over there, kudos to them, an outstanding effort. But ever since I've had two young kids, Marty, I don't stay up anymore. I go to bed and then I get up, set the alarm for 1:50 because I need all that sleep. So I set the alarm for 1:50, hopped up, chucked Trent and Luke on CoastFM, and it was beautifully synced up with the pictures that were coming in there from Oman. And I don't know, it was just sitting on the lounge watching it and just thinking, like, how did we get here? Because, I've told this story to Luke and Luke tells it on air, but, the Mike Mulvey year, when that wrapped up, I went and bought a jersey because I wasn't sure, if the club was going to exist in its current form, whether it was going to be sold or moved, or I didn't know what was going to happen with my football team. And to be sitting there watching them play in an AFC Cup final and win it and lift that trophy, mate, it was a surreal feeling, one that I'll never forget. And, you don't want to put too much pressure on them, but now let's go and do the same thing in the Champions League next year, eh?
Absolutely. Exactly right. And getting all the silverware, or was more goldware. There seems to be more of the gold trophies, taking away the F3 Derby trophy, of course, with a block of concrete. Let's ask someone who did that travel and was there. Erin, I'm as jealous as all hell that you went over there and I couldn't get any time and dollars to do it, just moving house and stuff. But, mate, it will be hard to do, but in a nutshell, can you tell us what it was like?
It's probably the most insane thing I've ever done, to be honest. People know me as being a fairly organised person. Only decided on the Friday at lunchtime, left at a bit after 9 on the Saturday night, got there about, 8 or 9 hours before the game. Could have been watching it in the airport, which would have been frustrating. But none of that happened, and we were there, and you guys have used the word a lot, and it fits perfectly because the whole thing from go to woe was surreal for me. Never thought I'd be there, never thought my team would be there, never expected a lot of things that happened when we got there. For example, the temperature never below about 33 or 4 degrees night and day, which for the players must have been incredibly tough. So only had a couple of nights there and came home pretty quickly because there were some important football matches on that I needed to be at, as well as the players needed to be at. Thankfully, they were a couple of days ahead of me. So I did get a day by the pool, but the pool was sort of 34 or 35 degree water. So it was really pointless exercise, the swimming. But but yeah, to see our team in that situation like that, it was just beyond anything that I could possibly have imagined us being able to do. So, like Dan portrayed, we were in places that still make me emotional to think about. And so being there that night, then there was plenty of emotion, but it was a different sort of emotion. And it's something that, I'll never forget, and a story I'll hope to tell my grandkids who have worn the yellow shirt about that time we did this. I'm a bit older than I care to discuss on this podcast, but there's a high probability that our team's never doing that again in my lifetime. So that's the reason I did it. And I hope Dan's right, and next year we win the Champions League, because that'd be pretty super. But yeah, this was, as far as I'm concerned, the greatest achievement our club's ever had. So it was lovely to enjoy it with them a bit. No contact with the players. They're on the other side of these caged walls, so we could poke our finger through the hole in the thing to touch the cup or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was some experience anyway.
Absolutely. And during the game, was there any? I mean, you've been to many a game, you travelled to many away game too, and seen many grounds. But was there any pinch yourself moments just during the game where you took your eyes off the ball and went, "Hang on, where am I again? What's going on?"
Yeah, probably. I did take a bit of a moment at halftime to go up the back of the stand because there was no top on the place, and so I just sort of took a bit of a video of around the stadium and outside, because Muscat's a pretty beautiful place at night time, and it was a great vantage point to see that. But yeah, in the stadium, plenty of firsts. We never really saw the opposition's fans because there was that many barriers between us that we just never saw them. So we never knew how many there were. I felt we were louder, but then they were hidden, so who knows? No water, no food, no need for a ticket. Anyone who walked up to the gate would have been allowed entry. At least as much military outside as there was fans in the stadium. So lots of unusual things about the way it was, including the lack of fans and all of that. But I really felt for maybe the first 10 minutes, I felt that the opposition, had something in them. But beyond that, then I felt our guys controlled the game without actually making the right opportunities. And then, yeah, really pleased to see Alo be the one to get the goal. And yeah, that was enough. And I figured it would be. So I think the fans at the ground were celebrating for a fair while. Like, we were pretty confident we had it in the bag once we got that goal.
Yeah.
So I hope we were well heard at home anyway.
You absolutely were, let me tell you. And it was, again, brought tears to my eyes, as I said, recognising all the people there that some, like yourself, known for many, many a year, and some that I've seen around the grounds and never said g'day to, but I'll be making the point to catch up with them sometime over this next game or so. And yeah, turning up to grounds that are empty, you just can walk in and get 3 points. It's like being back at Newcastle, isn't it? It's pretty close to it.
Well, I dare say that the players were chanting something about "was it easy" in the dressing room afterwards, and probably not, but the tune was good.
As long as you sing the songs, mate, sing the songs. And Dan, just from the club's point of view, I don't know if there was a meeting this year and said, right, we're going to win this, and do this. Even beyond our wildest dreams, we're going, hang on. I don't know, we had targets for it and all this sort of stuff, but what does this do for the club? Because morale must be absolutely flying in the place. What does it do for a club with something like this?
Oh, it's just, like Dan said earlier, like last year was a fairy tale to go all that way and lift the championship, and then this year just started rocky, and then the only team that we lost to was Sydney FC pretty much all year. To have that stats, to break so many records and achievement at this club in the history is just remarkable going into our 20th year. The dark days have gone by, and every single member, sponsor, player have felt that, and now it's our time to shine. Like, we've believed in a philosophy that worked from the ground up, and believing in the academy and bringing those players through. And I think there was 11 that have been moved up through the academy after the last 3 years, have contributed into this fantastic achievement that the club's done. Never in Australia football anyone's achieved a treble, and I don't want to break that momentum at the moment. And who else deserves it more at the moment? Just the little club that could, and now it's elevated to a Premiership club, an AFC Cup Championship, and then looking now to get the treble. Like, it's unbelievable. And like, Wanderers, congratulations to them when they won the Asian Champions League, but they never did the Premier's Plate and the Championship all in the same year. So it's the place is buzzing. It's emotional as well, because all the people that have been a part of this massive journey, it's a big thanks to them as well. And all the new people coming in to shape the new way at the moment as well is just, everyone's reaping the benefits. It's just so cool to be a part of this journey at the moment. And it's emotional as well, because as I said, like, to have that feeling of lifting that Premier's Plate that night was just awesome. But everyone just had a moment of like surreal, just going into it, going, hang on, it's not there yet. Then we win the AFC Cup, and I was at Gosford RSL at 2:00 in the morning with 83 fans or more, more in there than in the stadium. So it was just incredible. And Noah Smith came with me as well, and we were just chatting away. And I just said, "Has it hit you yet, mate?" And he goes, "No, there's still a job to be done. There's still a job to be done to get this treble and be first in Australia to do this." Wow, what a club we are!
And that's the thing too. I mean, we've got Brad Tapp coming up on the show straight after this, and talking to him, it's like, it's not like we haven't won anything yet, because they know we have, but their focus is so much just on Friday night. We'll get Saturday night. We'll get Saturday night out the way first, and then we'll see how we go after that. It really has been a game by game thing, and I think you mentioned before about Stadge bringing in a certain philosophy, and it went through Monty, and Daco's just gone with it because he's exactly the same. He's game by game as they come. But that's been it, hasn't it? That's been the secret to the success, just one game at a time.
Oh, absolutely. And as Matt Simon said, he was like, it's not party time yet. Party time is when we do it and we win it all. And we still got a game against Sydney this weekend to go and prove ourselves. Like, it's 2-1. If Sydney get God forbid, 2 goals, then it's game on, again, and we're going to be chasing. So with the rest for the boys, it's rewarding for them to actually feel like, hang on, normality is setting back into the training schedule, and Mark's not changing anything. The boys have had a couple of days off. They're straight back into training today. It's non-stop, ready to complete a job which we've set out to achieve. And like you said it straight away from the beginning, we didn't sit down to prepare ourselves for this season. We've been facing, like, normally we have 13 home games. This year we've had nearly probably 32 home games, probably with the men's, the women's, the AFC Cup, and then away trips as well. Like, the boys have done over 60 games. Like, it's unheard of, but it's competing now with the rest of the world. That football, like EPL Championship, when you're going to play UEFA Champions League over there, the boys are playing every 3 to 4 days, which the fitness has improved. We're not backing down, and the boys are going to come at anyone who's going to challenge them.
Absolutely. No, the mentality is fantastic. And you're hearing it through the younger guys as well, like Tappy, even talking with guys like Bailey Bradman and DePizio. They've got this same culture that's set, which holds us in great stead for the years ahead as well. Dan, the game against Sydney, shocking conditions, but massive shout out to the travelling fans again, made more and more noise as the game was going on. It was a tough game, but you think we're good for taking away the send-offs, of course, but we're good for the 2-1 win?
Yeah, I thought the Mariners started really well. Sydney worried me a fair bit. They're obviously the team that the Mariners have had the most trouble with this season. The last time they played them, I thought, Mark Jackson will have a plan. And from go to woe, basically, Sydney just pressed and pressed and pressed. You thought that they were going to run out of legs, and they didn't. So I was a little bit worried about that going into the game. I thought the Mariners started really well, 10, 15 minutes. Were on top of Sydney, and then the goal went against the run of play for mine. And then Sydney had the better of the rest of the first half until we jagged one right before half-time. Second half, I thought it was pretty even. And then, obviously the red cards come. The second red card, would have liked for that to have come 5 minutes earlier, because I think Mark was just using his last substitute window at the time. I would have loved to have had one more substitute window up the sleeve to throw a Jing Reese on and really go for that third goal, not that they weren't, but another attacking option, another target in the box. Didn't work out that way. 2-1. I think obviously it's a great advantage to take home, but Mark said in his post-game press conference, beware the wounded animal. They're down on troops. They go away from home. They're going to have great travelling support on Saturday, and they've already got a decent result up at Central Coast Stadium this year. So they'll go up to Central Coast Stadium with a lot of belief. And I know the Mariners won't take them lightly, but they're a formidable opponent, no matter the 11 that they put on the park. And it's going to be a really good game, but I'm glad that the Mariners are going home with some sort of advantage.
Absolutely. And Erin, how do you see the game going on Saturday night? Do you think Sydney's just going to come out all guns blazing, nothing to lose? Do you think that'll be our getting on the front foot to push for that early goal? How do you see the game going?
I think that's probably how Sydney have played each time they've played against us. They've been quick out of the blocks. We stifled that a bit in this most recent game, but before that, that's been the pattern, that they are fast out of the blocks. We haven't really been a fast out of the blocks team ourselves. Rather, we've probably been a second half team most of the time. So I've felt during those games confident that we had something for them still. But I'd have to admit that when they scored after we dominated a bit on Friday, then it started to. It was the same as some of their other goals. You can't complain about balls that end up in the net, but was it 4 deflections that were taken on the way? So each time there's just been this sense of a little bit of luck. That's a little bit lucky. And, eventually you have to shut up and accept that it's not luck, it's good play. But I do feel like with the advantage and with what I hope is going to be a well majority of Coasties egging them on, that we can bring it home in front of our own fans. And I felt that this game was a little bit of a breakout in terms of throwing off those shackles of letting Sydney sort of the feel of them dominating us, as opposed to it really happening, which probably didn't happen. So I think we've got plenty for them, but Dan's right. They are a formidable opponent. They have a great coach, and he'll have a game plan regardless of who they put on the paddock. They'll have a plan to get under our guard. So, but at the same time, Jacko, he just keeps coming up with these miraculous plans and changes things when they need to be changed, and rotates players so that there's always a sense of competition amongst them there. And somehow he's got those fellas primed in the way he has. They're just like a machine, and it's just hard to envisage how they can be stopped. Don't want to think too much about it, because getting ahead of ourselves is not something Mariners fans do easily. But yeah, I think this is a great chance for us. We've done everything in our power to put ourselves in the best possible position, and now our fans can add that extra element, I think, and bring it home. So yeah, I think we can win.
Absolutely. And Dan, you've obviously been there for many a glorious night at Industry Group Stadium with the crowd. For those that probably haven't experienced it and are maybe on the sideline thinking, shall I get tickets? And they probably should have by now, because they may not be able to get one. But what are those nights like, mate? They're really special. It's a really special place when it's full and it's buzzing, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And we've experienced crowds so low in this league through the dark stages, and then it's all the diehards and all the supporters that stick by it thin and through. I remember last year when we were playing Adelaide in the semi-final, and Sean said to me, go and stand just for 5 minutes and just take in the atmosphere, Dan. You and your team have created this by filling the stadium, so go in and enjoy it. And mate, it brought tears to my eyes to see that many people in there, that belief that we could go all the way, and then just seeing yellow and blue just from top to bottom. It was just I can't ever feel that moment again. But this weekend, at the moment, I think there's only less than 2,000 tickets still to sell. I went through the bays myself, and it's mainly the north now left, GA, and we've still got some corporate outdoor boxes and lounge tickets still on sale. But yeah, we're just so excited to have Gosford put on the map and represent Australia just on the big stage yet again, of the little club that can. And we are now the Premiership club, so it's even more exciting to see everyone come out the woodwork and support. But the biggest thing is we just need them there every single game to pump these boys through no matter what. So whatever you're doing next year, guys, make sure you buy a membership and come to every single game. That's for sure.
No, yeah, definitely get amongst it. It was interesting at the Mariners medal too, Dan, while I got you. Jacko spoke about sort of losing this underdog tag, that, you know, we're a force in this competition, recognise it and treat us that way. I mean, we've come from very small beginnings. We've always got that history. But it's right, isn't it? It's, you know, we can't go into the season. I know we're looking towards next year already, but we can't say, oh, you know, we'll give it a crack. No one's going to tip us for coming last next year, surely.
No, absolutely not. And we're a team to be reckoned with now. Like everyone's come against us this year, and Sydney's been the only one that's really like trumped us just in the league. So like we've put a testament to other teams that we've never had that chance to do before. What we did against City last year was just remarkable. 6-1 in the grand final. Adelaide 4-1 on aggregate. Like there were a couple of games where we beat them in the league 4-1, but this year's just been a roller coaster ride. It's just been so exciting, winning draws and getting all these stats and record breaking on the park and off the park. It's just been absolutely unbelievable. And I think also the membership team have broken the club record as well, with over 7,000 something members at the moment. I don't know that magical number, but it's just incredible what this coast is now being recognised as a football coast, not an NRL coast. We don't have a team that lives on the coast, so get behind us and support the Mariners, that's for sure.
Absolutely. All right, well, it's the part of the night that you really don't want me to talk about, but I'm going to talk about it anyway because it's prediction time. Dan, you're going to be sitting on the sideline, you're going to be having the headphones on, doing the sideline eye stuff, but for you, mate, what's the score going to be on Saturday night? And I will add another question: who's going to win the other game?
I will go a 1-1 draw on the night, and the Mariners to go through. What will that make it? 3-2 on aggregate.
We'll take it.
I think it'll be a tight game. I just can't see. The Mariners have been so good defensively. Every time a ball comes into the box, Brian Kaltak's head it's like a magnet. It's there. I can't see them conceding more than one. I think Sydney will create chances. They may get a goal, but I can't see them keeping the Mariners out down the other end either. So I think the Mariners will get the job done. In the other game, I know it's going to be a massive home ground advantage for Wellington over there, but I thought Victory played really well the other day and probably unlucky not to get a result out of that game. I think it's going to be a lot closer than what people think over there, and I think I'm going to tip Victory in an upset in that one.
There'll be a lot of upset Wellington Phoenix fans if that happens. The place is going to riot. Apparently, they're looking for a sellout as well. Erin, what about yourself, mate?
I think we can get away with the similar result to what we got in Sydney. I think they can score for sure, and they will create chances, but we've got the best goalkeeper in the league. Pity he will retire, because he would still be the best goalkeeper in the league next year, in my opinion. But yeah, so I think we can win it 2-1, and that'll be a decent aggregate. But I think we'll be ridden home by that big crowd, a lot of excited people. In the other game, I'm going to go with Wellington, because I think they have shown a lot of resilience this year, and this will be their moment. They'll have a really big crowd behind them. They've shown that support actually can be converted. So I think that they'll get away with it, not by a big margin. They're not a big scoring team, but there's a little fairy tale there about us and them in the grand final as well that I want to come true. So perhaps I'm creating my own narrative, but yeah, I'm gonna say that Wellington can get that one, probably 1-0.
Absolutely. And what about yourself, Dan?
I'm so optimistic, mate. So I'm going to go straight out, and we're going to win 3-0. Okay, mate. We're going to come at them so hard. It's going to rock Sydney off the platter of the earth. So it's going to be great, mate. So, but yeah, like same with Erin and what Dan said. Like Victory came out so strong that last game, and I think they really dominated play. But as Erin said, I think the home crowd does give you a good advantage, especially if you get the goal nice and early. It just lifts the confidence. It just lifts that belief. And for us to even talk about having a grand final at home, it's just everything to play for. So, and those boys won't want to travel to Wellington. They won't want to travel to anywhere else. So let's get this job done and let's bring it home. And yeah, but I reckon Wellington will pip the last post with the home advantage as well. Yeah, I just can't wait to roll on Saturday. That's for sure.
Oh no, bring it on. Was it 3 more sleeps, 4 more sleeps, or as we were recording? So can't wait for that one too. And can you just imagine what the ticket office is going to be like if we do get a win and we end up playing a grand final at Industry Group Stadium? We're definitely, all those chairs we're talking about on the roof and in the palm trees and inside sauce bottles is going to have to happen, because you're going to get more texts and more phone calls than you've ever had, my friend, about getting yourself some tickets. So good luck with that. We'll wish you that in advance just in case as well, right?
No, thank you. Yeah, like the membership team with Nadine leading and James and Frank now, they've just got everything in play ready for next week already. So members will have they're able to get their same seats and offers straight away before the public, and no doubt everyone's going to be jumping at a bit to get everything sorted. All I can emphasize is turn up early this weekend. Make sure you got your ticket ready to scan in. People will forget that. They'll be trying to load up on their phones. Everyone using the Wi-Fi is going to slow it down. So just prepare yourselves, guys. We're opening the gates an hour and a half early, so before kickoff. So it's giving them a good advantage. But scenes like last year, Man Street's going to be packed, mate. Dane Drives are going to be flooded around both sides, up and down. And grand final, I just hope council are prepared to shut that road and sell tickets for the bridge, because we can't wait to see that happen.
The whole place down. And if you want to get a beer at the Leagues Club on Saturday, I suggest you get there Friday night, because it's going to be packed in there as well. So, fellas, thanks for having a bit of a chat. It's been great talking to you all. All the best for our club on Saturday night, and here's hoping that we might be able to come back next week and need to have another show for a grand final. But all the best for the weekend, boys. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Marty. Cheers,
Thanks for having me, Marty.